You might be wondering how I got here. Well, to tell you that, we need to go back to the beginning.
Previously on Phantom Operations.
I'll say it. Gregory and Glamcock Freddy. What the? Oh, it's a bad bitch. It smashed so hard.
Life is very veiny off. What the fuck did I just...
Okay, FNAF is over. I can rest. Son of a bitch!
2,000 years later.
Bitch. Fine, it's DVD time. Dead by Daylight, the slasher hit that just won't die. It's weird to think that this game is getting close to being 10 years old. I won't lie, back in 2016 when I first saw this game, I couldn't deny that it looked cool and had potential, but I just didn't see it getting all too far. But time and time again, it surprised me by its consistent growth and innovation. I think most games should look at Dead by Daylight when making a game, just to see where you can innovate while still keeping the core aspects alive in a game. It's truly great. Yet for as awesome of a game as this one is, I couldn't seem to figure out how to make this video. See, I format my videos a lot around single player and story driven games. I quickly talk about the game's upbringing, then deep dive into the gameplay, usually touching each story beat. And once that's done, I will go over the big point, answering the question and explaining the pros and cons of the game before rating it. But with DBD, the big gameplay portion wouldn't be that big. I don't find it necessary to go over every chapter or just killer, nor do I think it would be right to talk about this newest chapter, aka My Bane, and just call it a day. So I decided to flip the script and go more into that history side by hammering in the evolution of DBD, more importantly how it achieved this impossible and consistent growth, and why I think that this game will inevitably die. But what is Dead by Daylight? If you don't know, DBD is a PvP asymmetrical horror / party game. An asymmetrical game is a game where both sides are not the same, one usually being stronger than the other. A symmetrical game would be like Overwatch, where every player has the same options and characters as everyone else. Left 4 Dead would be a good example of asymmetry in gaming, where the survivors have to battle the inherently stronger dead. Dead by Daylight did the impossible by making a game like this competitive and, in my opinion, balanced both sides pretty well. The big bulky side is the killer, who is by himself and has the goal of downing survivors to then hook survivors. Once they do that 3 times, they are sacrificed and out of the game. Killers also get the added perk of having different playstyles depending on which killer you pick. Survivors are much weaker, with the goal of completing 5 generators and opening up the exit gates to leave. They get a few things like vaults and pallets in the trial to try and fight back against the killer, but if that was all this game was, then that would be, hella lame and stupid. So killers and survivors both get perks that change up how they play in certain aspects, whether that be in chase with generators or overall locating of either party. They also both get an offering, and I only accept the blood point variety, which helps you get more BP. BP is the currency you get to progress the blood web, which gives you all of your perks, offerings, add-ons, or items. But they also come in the varieties of map offerings, or should I say offer up your PlayStation and touch some fucking grass. Survivors get items and add-ons for their items to help fight against the killer, help with gens, or regeneration. Killers get offerings that directly change up their power and strategies. And that's the basics of DBD. It's a very simple game in nature, but looking in depth, it becomes a beast of intricacy. This game has one of the most high skill curved and learned gameplay loops, one of the most toxic communities. At least from what the players say, it is very unbalanced, although I kind of disagree in some aspects. How did a game like this survive, thrive, and grow for almost 10 years? To be honest, it was pretty simple. I think in DBD's history, there have been 4 big turning points. A turning point in my eyes are times when DBD has grown and gotten bigger in a major way that elevated the game into a new and bigger status. I want to punctuate all of these by calling them an era, starting with the Baron era. Prepubescence, just how I like them. This game is a new breed, a test going into asymmetry, unlike anything before it. Yes, there were problems, bugs, infinite loops, and whatnot, but it showed people promise and a fun time without much stress. It had only 3 killers, the Trapper, the Wraith, and the Hillbilly. This gained pretty good support, but it lacked in a lot of areas, most notably the big why. Why should I play this game that is horribly unbalanced and has not too much incentive to play? They brought out The Last Breath, their first go at a chapter with an all-new map, killer, and survivor. This did show that the game still had potential to grow and innovate, although it didn't do much in the way of turning new heads to the game. That would be responsible by our first big turning point. Everyone say hello to the shape. This is the slasher era, the era where they saw their audience and rammed it back in again and again and again. Michael truly was the single biggest innovation in this game's history. The foundation was pretty rock solid. There were some kinks at the time that needed to be buffed out, but the big problem is going to DVD is just such a leap. There was no other online game like it at the time, so they needed something, an excuse or maybe an icon to draw people in. And that was Michael. No matter what your opinion on The Killer, the movie, or anything else about this chapter is, that trailer was cold as hell. Full enough, it's sometimes better than the new trailers. So they saw that success and they leaned into that aspect of creating an audience. I mean, a lot of their initial killers are inspired heavily by slasher icons, a la Jason and Trapper or Hillbilly and Bubba. They still kept giving us original killers like the Huntress, Doctor, or Hag, but also gave us icons in horror that only served to heighten the game's popularity. Leatherface, Freddy Krueger, Amanda Young, and the Ghostface were all the big slasher hitters that they brought in. They covered most of the genre pretty fast. They still needed some like Jason and Chucky, but other than those ones which have a myriad of problems, aka Jason's legality and Chucky's embarrassing size, but there was a problem. They were hitting the same market again and again, bringing people back, but not many new people in the game. They need something new, something different, something strange. Just wanted to come in here and say something real quickly. If you're really enjoying this video, you know, you like my content, my editing, blah, 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 whatever. If you just find yourself entertained at any moment, consider subscribing. It would make my day. And please enjoy. The post-old new era, a mouthful, but a perfect representation of this time in DBD's life. They were sprucing up the game, making the game go from shitty to trashy for your eyes, better UI elements, the whole shebang, shaboong, and shabak. But the biggest thing and the turning point was definitely the introduction of Stranger Things. Not only was this genius for the timing, since Stranger Things was on the high life of popularity, but it is exactly what DVD needed, something new and innovative. So why not deviate from slashers to go into sci-fi with something that isn't human and isn't even terrestrial? Now I call this post-old new era because it is a time of transition where they still kept new cult classics coming out, but also put emphasis on newer films and shows or different forms of media entirely. Pyramid Head and Nemesis are from newer-ish franchises in games, something that DVD never really tried to do. But then you have the Ario and Pinhead, both from older cult classic movies, but are still in a bit of a different genre from slashers. This era was a lot more of a contemplation era for behavior. They could tell that expanding genres and medias was getting more success, but it also turned off a lot of their older audiences. So they had to make a decision, double down on what they used to do or move forward into something different. One chapter definitely showed their move.
I'll kill you quickly. Live to see the dawn.
Now they had done a collab with Resident Evil, not their best work, but it was one of their most popular chapters. But what made this one interesting wasn't anything about the chapter itself, but the pretense. They chose to do a second chapter for a franchise, which was unheard of, and the fact that they did it with a video game was no coincidence. They knew that in this era, the modern era, they needed to go ham on the newer and more popular collabs. Yes, they'd still bring in older killers like Chucky and Xenomorph, but they wanted to focus on what was new and popular, not just a niche slasher killer. The Lich, which really stretches itself, showing us how even something like D&D could be in the game, even if not a traditional online form of media. Dracula hammered in games and showed us how they were willing to even show love for older titles, and Ken showed us the wonderful world of hentai. Who the fuck made the script? The wonderful world of anime was not out of the question either. Even the solo survivor clouds, which usually just kept in line with the slashers and horror, deviated a lot. Lara Croft, who wasn't even a horror character, Nicolas Cage, a goddamn celebrity, came to the fog, which was unprecedented. This era, the era we were just living through, was a roller coaster, showing us that this game was still able to tread new territory and do bold moves that kept growing the community. But I'm scared of this new era and what it means for DVD. Just roll the trailer, we all know what it is. Okay, before I explain why I call this the era of death, I want to tell you how bad I think this new chapter is. One, the killer Springtrap, he looks cool and has some cool animations and voice lines, but hey, that power reeks! Not only does it stink, it fucking smells. The fire axe is a worse version of Hunter's hatchets that act like victory is on your back when hit, but if you miss, you get a stupid smelly feel that gives you killer instinct. If you grab them, you do a cool animation and plop them on your back, basically for the wow factor. The doors are just easier, more reliable versions of the lockers from Dredge. And to be honest, the only cool interaction is the one the survivors never do since it's fucking stupid. The map, which could have been so cool, is a bad reskin of an older map with Freddy's location in the middle being the only interesting thing about it, and they didn't even add Mike. I don't hate this chapter.
Really?
Even though I just said I hated almost everything about it. I just know that they could have done so much better. Look at the Lich, for example, that wasn't nearly as hyped of a chapter as this one, but got a dope and innovative map, 2 new survivors, and a killer so unique and different that you need a Harvard degree to understand the Dispelling Orb. Now look at Springtrap. A half cool, half lazy map, no survivors, and a killer power that is derivative of 3 different killers in one. This is one of the most hyped chapters of all time, and they fumbled the bag hard. This is the start of the era of death. This chapter, once the novelty fades, won't be looked at too fondly, and was behavior's biggest chance of growing their audience to new heights, and truly, what else could push them higher than what FNAF could have? Jason maybe, but that's still tangled up at the moment. But once they stop raising the bar, I feel like they will just stagnate and slowly die off. Now hey, do I think that this will be anytime soon? Hell no, this game ain't leaving for a while. I just feel like without a new big power play that this game can't get any higher and will slowly go back out of relevancy and eventually to its deathbed. I do think though one thing may change that, and that is if they bit the bullet and made this game free to play. This game is so pay to win and has so many problems with you needing to spend money for things that I feel like at this point making it free to play may actually give it a lifeline. Or hell, try and do an Overwatch and make a sequel and give yourselves a chance to change and innovate this game in a big new way while making it free. Oh yeah, the rating. I personally think that this game is very polarizing for me. I don't really like playing survivors. Yes, it's kind of fun with friends, but at the same time, I never really have cared too much for the playstyle. But I really do like to play the killers almost every time. Now, of course, when going against like a Swift, which is the ultimate bane of anyone's existence, it can get a bit annoying, but I still think that this game is a solid 7 out of 10. Well, that's Dead by Daylight. Although there is a lot more I could talk about, I'm fine acting like a horseman, showing you the inevitable-ish death of this game. Yep, and that's how I got here. Got a bronze flashlight for my troubles, but hey, not so bad. It's pretty comfy down here. Oh, hey Claude. Sorry, but this one's on you, man.